So hi, I'm Mel. I'm with RPDX, the Western United States Catrike megastore, and your place to test ride trikes and motor kits and all sorts of cool trike stuff. We're here to talk about motor kits for trikes. So you'll get both my impression and those of our customers, though it's important to remember that others' opinions are not a proxy for your experience. As with all other things triking, the sure way to know what works for you is to test ride. Fortunately, we have half a dozen motor-equipped trikes right here on our showroom floor. You can bring a friend, a family member, and come and test ride. Just call or email us to schedule that test ride. So we've got a bit to cover here. We're going to talk about the history of motor kits just a little bit. We'll talk about trike drivetrains. We'll talk about motor kit components. We will compare kits that we offer in terms of power and performance, torque versus cadence sensing, throttle versus no throttle, battery size. We'll also talk about warranty. We'll talk about licensing for trikes, and we'll talk about adaptive riding. We'll cover some cool accessories that you can add to your trike, and we will also talk about how to transport your trike. So, with that, let's get started. A little history. Like pretty much the entire cycling industry, we sell and install bottom bracket motors. Motors that have integrated cranks and pedals that become part of your drivetrain. Now, we've been installing motor kits for 8 years, and I can tell you that they are no longer in their infancy. Quality has skyrocketed as prices have declined. Properly maintained, a motor kit should provide thousands of miles of reliable service. The lithium-ion batteries that we sell as part of it are a consumable item. They decline in performance throughout their use, but they should also be good for thousands of miles between replacement. Also, weights have declined. In fact, the entire bottom bracket kits that we sell, motor, display, mounts, battery, all of it weighs less than just the rear hub alone, the rear hub motors alone that we used to sell. In short, they're cheaper, they're lighter, they're quieter, they're more reliable with smoother power delivery, pretty much what you'd expect from a maturing industry. What's a drivetrain? A non-motorized trike has a drivetrain. That's the crank up front that your legs spin. That drives a long chain that in turn drives the rear wheel. On Catrikes, there are 3 front gears, a granny, a regular, and a hard. There are also 10 rear gears on a cassette, likewise ranging from hard to easy. The front and the rear gearing work in concert to allow easier or slower riding for uphill and harder and faster riding for downhill. We even have a couple of shifting videos up there under the service tab. You can go and watch them. They're right up there if you want to learn more. A motor kit includes a crank and pedals, so it replaces those 3 front rings with just a single mid-sized one. Most of our customers never actually use the large front crank ring, and the smaller granny gear, it's really not needed once you have a motor. What's in a motor kit? The main components are the motor, the display, the control pad, the throttle, the battery, cabling, a speed sensor, and if you have one, a gear sensor. So, let's start with the motor. The motor is out on the end of the boom. As I mentioned before, we call this a mid-drive or a bottom bracket motor because it replaces the manual crank and bottom bracket that came with the trike. Also, as mentioned above, motors only have 1 chainring. If your original crank had 2 or even 3, you now have 1. But again, you have a motor, so you likely will not miss them. The display provides information on speed, trip odometer, and remaining battery. The display by default is mounted on the left side of the trike, but we can mount it to either side. The display is also our mechanic's interface for air code diagnostics and software updates. The important controls are on, off, and the assist level. It's also where you'll summon trip and total odometer information. And if you want a wired-in lighting system, that's where you'll find the button for turning it on and off. Your motor kit might have a throttle for if you get tired and you just want to motor home without pedaling. Your new motor has a battery, generally on the right side of the trike and mounted down low to keep the trike's center of gravity as low as possible. The battery is removable and it has its own power level gauge, separate from the one that's on the display. The charging port is accessible, so the battery can be charged on the trike or off. Oh, and I mentioned that the battery is mounted on the right side. That's to ensure that if you have a folding trike, it'll still fold. The cabling connects the motor to the battery, and it also connects the motor to the display and the control pad and the throttle. For some installations, we add a gear sensor. It knows when you're shifting, and it briefly pauses the motor. That makes for smoother shifting. It also improves the life of your drivetrain. A speed sensor is a magnetic pickup on the left front wheel that tells the motor kit whether it's moving and how fast. Obviously, the system won't work if the speed sensor's not working. And you have a charger specifically designed for your motor kit. It's designed to give a full charge in about 8 hours. Here are the kits that we offer. RPDX offers 2 motor kits, a Bosch Active Line Plus 250, that's 250 watts, and a Bafang 500 watt motor. We'll start with the Bosch. It's what we call an original equipment manufacturer, or OEM. We purchase our Bosch motor kits directly from Catrike. Catrike also supplies proprietary booms, and those are what the Bosch system mounts into. We've installed pretty much every manufacturer. Bosch has the smoothest power band of any we've ever installed. The Bafang is a little bit different from the Bosch. For one thing, the Bafang is what we call vendor agnostic, meaning we can install a Bafang on any trike. You'll recall above I said that the Catrike provides a proprietary boom for the Bosch. That boom only fits Catrike. In contrast, we can put a Bafang on any trike. Bafangs are torquey and fun. Recumbent PDX purchases and imports directly from the Bafang Corporation. The Bosch is a 250 watt motor, the Bafang is 500 watts. Bigger is better, right? I mean, you always want the biggest motor kit you can buy, right? Okay, that was a leading question. Bigger is not better. The motors we sell are plenty powerful. For a little comparison, Tour de France riders average 350 watts of exertion, summiting the 8% grade of the 6,900-foot Col de Tourmalet. So a 250 watt motor offers you almost the power of a pro rider right there on your trike. How does that translate? French professional rider Cyril Barta holds the record on the website Strava for his 2019 climb. He did 3,762 vertical feet over 8.75 miles, and he did it at an average speed of 11.5 miles per hour. This guy is a pro. So if you're climbing hills at 9 or 10 miles an hour, that is amazing. Also, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, your trike is designed to endure the maximum forces that a human can exert. It's not designed to withstand ongoing torsional loads many times what a human can produce. You could put a 671 blower on a 383 Stoker crate with Holley carbs and an Edelbrook RPM intake manifold. You could drop that whole thing into a 1979 Ford Pinto and run the quarter mile, but no surprise, she is not going to last long on the street. In our shop, we've seen 750s and 1000s. Heck, we even saw a 1500 watt motor kit on a Catrike 700 one day. It was such a power hog that the guy needed this huge 30-pound battery pack just to run it. He had so much juice on the trike that he actually installed a big sound system complete with subwoofers. The trike weighed about 100 pounds. Unnecessary and unsafe is what we would call that. And we will not sell anything that we think's unsafe. Also, anything over 500 watts is a power hog, unnecessarily draining your battery for performance that you just can't use. And also, anything over 750 watts is illegal on federal lands or property, and it puts unknown stresses on your boom, frame, drivetrain, likely causing long-term damage. Oh, and one final point. Motor kits are additive, not substitutive. There are plenty of ways of getting places without pedaling. A car, a motorcycle, a bus. But you didn't buy one of those, did you? You bought a trike. 250 watts is more than enough. Given our druthers would only sell 250s. The market demands 500, so we offer them. You probably don't need them. You certainly don't need more than 500. Both the Bosch and Bafang are pedal assist motors. This means that the motor senses that you're pedaling and applies additional power to the spinning crank ring that drives that chain. Both motors are designed to provide assist until the rider reaches 20 miles per hour. Then they cut out. If the rider then drops back down below 20 miles an hour, motor support is available again. Both motors have multiple power settings. Think of the minimum setting as a gentle wind at your back. The maximum is more like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Riders adjust the settings to their preference. A couple of things, as I'll mention in our motor kit safety video in the service section above. I strongly advise keeping to the lowest power settings when you are new to a motor kit. And also, and I'll talk about this more in the battery section, the lowest power setting gives you the best mileage. Torque versus cadence sensing. The Bosch has a torque sensor, in fact, multiple torque sensors. That means it senses how hard your feet press on the pedals and orders power from the motor accordingly. It is smooth, really smooth. We'll be out on test rides and customers will complain, this thing's not doing anything. And I'll say, well, then turn it off. And then I'll immediately respond, wow, I didn't realize how much work the motor was doing. And that's Bosch's aim, to be so smooth you don't even know it's there. You'll be thinking, look at me, I've got 19-year-old legs again. In contrast, the Bafang uses cadence sensing. The faster you pedal, the more welly it gives.
Give it some more welly, lad.
That's a Wallace and Gromit reference. If you're not a fan, you should be. Anyway, cadence sensing is less subtle. It's torquey. You will most definitely know you've got a motor between your legs. Which is better? You'd have to test ride to know for sure. And this is the point in the video where I reiterate that Recumbent PDX has lots and lots of Bosch and Bafang motor kits on our demo floor. Bring a spouse and a friend or a relative and come do some test riding. Also, I can tell you that we recently took 20 motor trikes to the San Juan Islands for triking with friends, and there were no fistfights over who got to ride one or the other. In my opinion, most riders adjust nicely to either motor. I mentioned above that both the Bosch and the Bafang are pedal assist, meaning that as you pedal the cranks, those motors give power. There's a second way to call it motor power, and that is a throttle. As a quick aside, Bafang offers a throttle. Bosch does not. Why? Our Bosch rep tells us that Europe is Bosch's largest market, and they have a completely different licensing process for throttle-equipped motors. So Bosch says they don't and they won't offer one. Our shop owner, Janet, calls the throttle the magic button because it powers the trike without requiring any pedaling. We have many customers for whom throttle is an absolute deal maker. Throttle gives customers living with the effects of strokes, Parkinson's, ataxia, MS, ALS, the freedom to know that when their legs are done, regardless of where they are in their ride, they can press the magic button and motor home. Think of battery size as analogous to a gas tank. Batteries are measured in a store of energy called watt hours. The only accurate measure for our battery size is watt hours. There's always a trade-off among size, weight, and cost. Think of your automobile. The tank size depends on how thirsty the motor is. Most cars have a 12-gallon gas tank, but that's not going to get you far in an F-150. So you want something that fits your trike and meets your range requirements. The average among e-cycle batteries is 400 to 500 watt hours. I'm also going to mention that battery range is one of those, your mileage may vary sort of things. If you're burning up hills at 20 miles an hour, you can't expect less mileage. Also, if you're attaching that battery to a larger motor, even for the exact same riding, you can expect less mileage. The Bosch comes standard with a 400 watt-hour battery. We have an optional, larger Bosch 500 watt-hour battery. For the Bafang, we offer both 504 and an optional 620 watt-hour battery. With your mileage may vary, disclaimer, I generally project that for flat road riding in the lowest motor setting, the standard batteries should get you at least 40 miles. And you'll note that I project both stock batteries for the Bafang and the Bosch at 40 miles of range, even though the Bafang's battery is 25% larger. Why is that? Because the 500 watt Bafang motor draws more than the 250 watt Bosch. By the way, I repeatedly mentioned keeping your trike on the lowest motor setting. What exactly does that mean to you? Generally, about 5 to 6 miles per hour of boost. So if you usually ride at 5 or 6 miles an hour, the motor kit should get you to about somewhere between 10 and 12 miles per hour. That is a very good clip. That is very respectable. Warranty. When you purchase a motor kit from Recumbent PDX, we offer a 2-year warranty. We keep a deep stock of both Bosch and Bafang replacement parts, so you can expect repairs to be done same day, and that's especially important if you're traveling in from out of town. The warranties diverge a bit here. Bosch has a nationwide network of authorized dealers who can handle warranty repairs, so if you happen to be traveling with your trike, you're likely not far from service. In contrast, the Bafang motors that we sell are warrantied and serviced out of our Portland store. There are like a gazillion Bafang dealers out there. Recumbent PDX hasn't heard of them, and they certainly haven't heard of us. So if your motor kit needs warranty service, you'll be visiting us, although we're a lot of fun to come see. The quality of the warranty service is more than a minor detail. We're now in our 8th year of selling motor kits. When we started, every brand from the cheapest to the fanciest, had regular warranty claims. Over the years, motor kits' reliability have improved immensely. I mentioned earlier that motor kits are no longer in their infancy. Now it's more like the terrible twos. The vast majority of the time, they are an absolute joy to be around. On the rarest of occasions, well, they have a meltdown. And that's when you'll be happy that you purchased from Recumbent PDX. What's on the internet, honey? Well, this is the part of the show where I take a well-deserved dig at the internet. There are plenty of places on the web to purchase motor kits, Bafang motor kits that seem just like the ones we sell here at Recumbent PDX are all over the internet. eBay, Amazon, Etsy, some dude selling out of the trunk of his car in Utah, you name it. How do they differ from what we offer? First, Recumbent PDX sources our motors and our batteries directly from the manufacturer. What you see on the internet can be remanufactured, or the batteries can just plain be counterfeit. The motors that we sell are new, and that's important, and the batteries that we supply with them are certified for safe use, meeting CE, which is the European safety standards, or UL, which is the US safety standards, or both. Also, our shop carries a product liability insurance policy. Few internet operations do, and you shouldn't buy from any place that doesn't. Our insurer insists that we're able to trace our motors and batteries back to the source manufacturer, and that our batteries have either UL or CE certifications. That's important for your safety and well-being. Also, and this is a small but important detail, trikes have long booms. Most motor kits are designed for 2-wheel upright bikes and do not have enough wiring to handle a trike. There's nothing like the added surprise to a DIY install of finding out you don't have enough wiring. Oops! And obviously, it's real nice to have an actual qualified shop to do warranty repairs. You won't find that on the internet. Finally, when you purchase a Bafang motor kit from Recumbent PDX, our mounts, both the display and the battery come from TerraCycle, the premium supplier of Recumbent accessories, and our neighbor here in Portland. These guys manufacture in the United States, and their parts are, as advertised, exquisite. So as of 2020, most states have agreed upon a 3-class system for e-cycles. Now this is by no means exhaustive, but simply put, a pedal assist motor kit with a maximum assist speed of 20 miles per hour, but without a throttle, is considered class 1. If a throttle, that supplies the power even when not pedaling. If a throttle is added to a 20 mile per hour maximum motor kit, it's now class 2. And so out of the box, the Bosch is class 1 and the Bafang is class 2. The Bafang can be made class 1 simply by unplugging the throttle, which is something that you can do at any time. Literally, it's that simple. Why does this matter? Because while class 1 motors are allowed pretty much everywhere, some jurisdictions limit class 2. So check state laws where you're going to be riding to know for sure. Also, there's a class 3 motor that goes up to 28 miles per hour that's heavily restricted in some jurisdictions. We don't sell them, so I'm not going to cover them here. And as I mentioned above, anything over 750 watts, whether it's class 1, class 2, or class 3, isn't legal on federal roads, lands, national parks, or forests. Motor kits make trike riding even more fun, and they make triking accessible for folks living with limitations. Our adaptive page up above, we have lots of success stories. A crucial adaptive component to many of those successes is an electric motor, allowing riders with limitations to not only join friends and family for pretty much any ride, but also providing freedom and independence. Now, everyone's different, but we're always happy to build up a combination of adaptive components for a test ride, so you can know for sure whether we can accommodate your needs. Our motor kits meet industry standards known as ingress protection, or IP, against dirt and dust and moisture. Your iPhone has an IP number, so do your bike lights and Bluetooth outdoor speakers. The motor kits that we offer are sealed against dust, and they're weatherproof, so you can ride through pretty much any weather, but they're not waterproof, so you can't pressure wash or submerge any part of them. Transportation. A motor kit adds about 18 pounds to your trike. You were certainly careful lifting your formerly 35 to 45 pound trike, right? Well, you have to be even more careful now that it weighs about 50% more. We have suggestions for helping you get trikes in and out of your vehicle. And also, I spoke about not pressure washing your motor kit, and you no doubt thought, well, duh, what idiot does that? Well, the answer is, it happens by accident. You put your trike in the truck or trailer bed or onto the rear mount of a trike rack, and then you drive merrily down the highway through a rainstorm. You are now driving water into the motor at 60 to 70 miles per hour. Fortunately, you can easily protect your kit against that kind of damage by wrapping exposed components in plastic bags. Accessories. Now we get to the fun part of the show. We've installed several Bosch motors with fully integrated Rohloff E-14 electronic shifting. This is about the coolest thing we've ever done. Rohloff, if you're not familiar, is an internally geared hub that is considered the absolute standard across the cycling world. Coolest of all, our mechanics have built a demo for our showroom floor that you can take for test rides. We can also install front and rear light kits that are wired directly into the motors of the Bosch and the Bafang with an on-off switch right there on the control pad. And as I mentioned earlier, we can do larger optional batteries which give you more range. A 500-watt battery for the Bosch and a 620-watt for the Bafang. You can also carry a second battery in a pannier bag, and you can swap them out when your active battery runs low. And in fact, we're certified by Bosch to wire in dual batteries. So you can actually have a second battery mounted on your trike. Everything happens automatically and it'll double your range. So there you have it, motor kits. My last words on the subject, well, we've said them often enough, we could actually probably have a sing-along. The single most important thing to picking the right motor trike is to test ride. So grab a friend or a relative or a spouse, give us a call, schedule a call, come and visit, do some test riding. Thanks so much.